The Boeing Dreamliner that crashed on June 12, 2025, remains at the heart of a growing mystery. According to preliminary investigation reports, the aircraft's fuel control switches were inexplicably moved from run to cutoff. This action instantly shuts down the engines, both of them. Startlingly, cockpit voice recordings captured the pilot's shocked reactions. In disbelief, one of them asked, "Why did you cut off?" A question that made it clear neither pilot had intentionally touched the controls. Yet the report implies otherwise. Air India flight AI-171, traveling from Ahmedabad to London, was carrying 242 souls, 230 passengers, and 12 crew members. Tragically, every life on board was lost except for one. In an extraordinary twist, reports claim that a man seated in seat 11A, near an emergency exit, somehow escaped or was ejected just moments before the crash. All of this explored in today's story. This is 3 Seconds to Disaster, the tragedy of Air India's dual-engine failure. It all began like any ordinary day. Air India Flight 171 was cleared for takeoff at Ahmedabad Airport. The skies were clear. The aircraft was in good mechanical shape. The pilots were experienced, and the route was familiar. Everything about the departure seemed routine. But within seconds of liftoff, the unimaginable happened. A smooth takeoff turned deadly. At exactly 8:08 GMT, the Dreamliner began accelerating down the runway, building up speed steadily. As the wheels left the ground and the plane climbed with power, everything looked normal. By the third second after liftoff, the aircraft had reached nearly 180 knots, perfectly within expected parameters. And then, suddenly, everything changed. Inside the cockpit, during post-takeoff checks, something baffling occurred. The fuel control switches for both engines, critical levers that allow fuel flow, were flipped from run to cutoff. First one, then the other, both within a single second. This instantly choked off the fuel supply. The engines died. No mechanical malfunction, no turbulence, no onboard failure. Someone, or something, had physically moved the switches. That's what the report says. The blame points to the pilots, yet the audio tells another story. A mystery remains.
The moments that followed were captured by the cockpit voice recorder. "Why did you cut it off?" one of the pilots asked, clearly stunned. "I didn't." The other replied instantly. That short, chilling exchange reveals the heart of the mystery. Neither pilot knew what had just occurred. Neither believed they had touched the controls. But the fuel had been shut off. The engines began to spool down. As engine RPMs dropped rapid, monitored as N1 and N2, the aircraft lost all thrust. It was no longer flying. It was gliding. But a Boeing 787 is not built to glide at low altitude, especially not seconds after takeoff. The emergency systems engaged. The ram air turbine, powered by airflow, automatically deployed. It generated just enough power to keep basic instruments alive, but it couldn't restart the engines. It couldn't lift the aircraft. Dreamliner was in free fall. The pilots acted fast. Within 10 seconds of engine shutdown, they moved the switches back to run, hoping to relight the engines. One of them, engine 1, showed signs of recovery, but the second engine remained silent. Meanwhile, the aircraft was already descending dangerously fast. There wasn't enough height. There wasn't enough time. Despite every effort, plane hit the ground. Investigators from the Air Accidents Investigation Branch launched an immediate probe. The results were shocking. There was no evidence of tampering, no sign of mechanical defect, no fuel starvation. The switches were found to be mechanically intact. And here's the critical part. They cannot move on their own. They need deliberate manual force. That led to a troubling conclusion. Someone in the cockpit had to have physically moved them. But if the pilots didn't do it, and clearly didn't remember doing it, how did it happen? That remains unexplained. The entire disaster boiled down to one instant, a brief moment that triggered an irreversible chain reaction. A manual action, moving both switches to cutoff, led to the loss of 2 engines and the fall of the aircraft. No second chances, no room for error, no hope of recovery. At 1:44 p.m., the plane crashed in Mini Nagar, a crowded neighborhood just beyond the airport boundary. It slammed into a hostel building at BJ Medical College, with students inside. Experts later explored several alternative theories, but the investigation stuck to the core finding. The dual-engine shutdown caused the crash. Still, one survivor's account changed everything. A single astonishing detail stood out. One man survived. The sole survivor of AI-171, identified as Vishu, was seated in 11A, first row of economy, just beside the emergency exit. He later recalled hearing a loud noise, like a bang, about 30 seconds into the flight. As the aircraft descended and chaos erupted, he managed to open the damaged exit door and walk out of the wreckage. Earlier reports claimed he had jumped out mid-air, but that's inaccurate. He survived the crash by walking out after the impact. It was possible because the plane never climbed higher than 625 feet. Still low, still lethal, but survivable for one. It was an unimaginable event, and a miraculous escape. Vishu's testimony about the loud bang has stirred more questions. Was it an engine failure? Maybe. But video footage from the crash shows no visible smoke, no fireball. That raises suspicions of another issue: simultaneous thrust loss. A rare but
deadly scenario. One theory suggests both engines failed due to a mechanical fault or fuel delivery issue, but others point towards something even more critical: malfunctioning flaps. Some experts believe the Dreamliner's flap system may have been mishandled or failed entirely. On takeoff, flaps are extended to generate lift. The Boeing 787 typically uses flaps 5 or more, depending on weight and runway. Once airborne and climbing, the flaps are gradually retracted, but in this case, reports indicate the flaps were either fully retracted too early or never extended at all. That's a huge red flag. Taking off without extended flaps means reduced lift at low speed and low height. That's a recipe for disaster. The aircraft would struggle to climb, making it more vulnerable to stall or descent. Combined with engine loss, it's fatal. This theory adds another layer to the puzzle of AI-171. Multiple small things, each survivable on its own, may have stacked into one catastrophic event. Whether it was flap configuration, human error, or a hidden system flaw, this flight never had a chance, and the questions still remain. If you're interested in aviation safety, aircraft systems, and real-world engineering breakdowns, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. More original content is on the way.